only show that's 3 dimensions away from Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson having control of every universe and making The Rock versus everyone. I'm your host, 3D Jake, and today we're looking at Black Adam. Black Adam is a movie that is a spinoff to Shazam that came out in 2019. Shazam, of course, was about a little boy who, a wizard grants him, turns him into a superhero. And The Rock, of course, was a producer on that movie because originally The Rock was going to be in Shazam movie originally when they were developing the script, but then the movie would have been, he said, would have been 4 hours long, so they decided he should have his own. He fought for have his own movie, Shazam have his own movie, which kind of works because Shazam's more of a comedy aspect and Black Adam's more of a serious superhero film. So I think it kind of works. They've been 2 different mashed up tones, and I'm glad that they split it up. Black Adam, of course, is a villain of Shazam. Think about this. Black Adam is Shazam's archenemy in the comics. Batman's archenemy in the comics is the Joker. Superman's archenemy is Lex Luthor's. And Flash's archenemy are people in bars. Sorry, I just wanted to make that joke. But and so, of course, Black Adam, of course, is like a villain in the comics and is actually Shazam's archenemy. And so Shazam, is not in this movie at all. So I'm saying if you're expecting Zachary Levi to show up, you're going to be very disappointed. Although there is elements of Shazam are present in this, but I'm not going to say which because I'm trying not to be a spoiler review. I'm trying to be a non-spoiler review because I have a feeling if it's in theaters, I should not spoil it. But if it's out on demand, then have at it. But maybe one day I'll do a spoiler review. But Black Adam, of course, is a movie that I was not really looking forward to. I was more excited about the Batman than Black Adam because I haven't been impressed with the trailers. I was like, they look fine. And I'm not a big JSA fan. I love Justice League, but I don't love the JSA. I'm just like, they never enthusiasted me in the comics. I'm just like, I'm good. So when I went in this movie, I was like, and I was like, I'll watch it. It's a DC movie, and I haven't heard great things about it. And so when I sat down, I'm not gonna lie, I loved this movie. I will say the first 20 minutes didn't do it for me because it was a monster mashup, and you'll see why, because they're trying to give stuff away. And so they try to give you a monster mashed up version of the opening, and then later on they show you the full uncut version of what happened because they're trying to trick you in the movie. So that's why they did that. And so when I was watching it, I was like, oh, okay, that's why I wish they would have just done that because we kind of figure out 2 and 2 together. But I guess some people they still playing in the movies where you try to trick people so they can figure out a plot twist later, even though the plot twist is in your face the whole entire time. And only most, unless you're 6, you probably would get it right away. But I really did like Black Adam. I really did like this movie, and I know The Rock has been trying to get this movie made since 2007. 2007. He was announced as Black Adam in 2007, and of course, he literally has been attached to it for so long. Then around 2011 or 2012, he left the project, and then around 2014 or so, or 2013, they were like, "Hey, you want to play Shazam?" And he's like, "I don't know." And he even was telling reporters, "I was offered 2 DC roles, and one of them, he said, just say the magic word, and I'm there," and hinting at Shazam. And then he finally, I guess, because he always kind of was attracted to Black Adam, so he just said, "I don't want to play Shazam, I want to play Black Adam." So of course they were going to develop the whole movie around Shazam, Black Adam, but then of course they split the movies into 2, and I will say I think that worked because these are 2 different tones. I do think if they could redo the tone, which I think would be really hard, I think they could put Black Adam in Shazam. I one day hope they meet because it'd be so cool. And I know where The Rock wants to go, and if I'm sure everyone knows the big surprise cameo at the end. Everyone with a day off who's never even heard of Black Adam heard about the cameo in Black Adam. I mean, it's look, I knew about the cameo before I even saw the movie because everybody was talking about. Hell, The Rock spoiled it on talk shows. He even said on interviews because it's so big. I mean, it's as big as the Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire No Way Home thing, and everyone knew they were in it. And so, but Marvel still played it to where we kind of had doubts, maybe they're not in it. The Rock didn't play the doubts. He just said, yeah, he basically said, yeah, so and so's in it. I'm not going to spoil it just in case the 2% have not seen this movie. I'm not going to spoil it, but you could figure out if you read an article on any website, you can pretty much figure out who's in it. And plus, they spoiled it over the weekend. I mean, the actor posted on his social media he's back, but okay. But anyway, I love this movie. This movie had a lot of great action sequences, and I've been feeling like not just DC, but every comic book movie lately has just been, it feels like they've been focusing on plot more and not really focus on action, and I'm like, why can't they focus on both? Like, I literally went and saw the Batman, and I thought the Batman was good. I do think it was missing action. Like, I was like, this is missing. There's only 2 or 3 action sequences in this entire film. Like, there's a chase sequence, and then there's an action sequence in the third act, but it's mostly just detective work. And I'm like, I want action, though. Like, I wanted to come to see this movie with action. I want to be able to buy your action figure because of the action in the movie. You know, in this movie, I just, I just did not get that with that movie. I mean, hell, Wonder Woman 84 had more action in that movie, and I didn't really care for that movie. But then this one has all the action you can ask for. You cannot say, whatever you say about this movie, you cannot say this does not have action in this movie. I mean, some people even compared it to Transformers, saying, it's like Transformers. It's got a lot of mindless action and not a lot of plot. And I'm like, you're not wrong, but at the same time, I really enjoy those Transformer movies. Like, I really like Michael Bay. I have a huge soft spot for a Michael Bay film. When I really want action in my face, I watch Michael Bay films. Bad Boy 2 is in my top 5 movies of all time, or top 10 movies of all time. And I'm just like, that is how much action I like in those movies. And so, to me, I'm like, this feels like a Michael Bay production in some ways, because there's lots of explosions and all that. But at the same time, I really enjoy this movie. Like, The Rock, I do feel like The Rock does do it great. Like, he is fantastic as Teth Adams. Like, Teth Adams is Black Adam's real name, Teth Adams. And so, and I will say, I read the comics. Like, when Shazam come out, I didn't know much about Black Adam, and I've been hearing, like, The Rock's going to play him. So I picked up a comic, I picked up, like, a Shazam comic book, and I bought it, and it's over there, actually. And so I bought it, and, I actually was like, you know what? I read it and I was like, and then it shows Black Adam's origins because it shows Shazam's origins. And by the way, I will say, the comic book, you know what? No, it's way over there. I have to go. But I was going to go get it. And I was like, but yeah, I would say that, it does have like one comic book issue of like Shazam's origins. And then it has Black Adam's origins on the back of it. And on the cover is Zachary Levi, texting on the phone, because that's what the way, because it's Shazam to promote the movie. And so they had Zachary Levi texting on his phone, blowing bubblegum in his suit. And so I was like, hey, it's a tie-in to the movie and it's a comic. And so I went and read it, and I'm like, his origins in the comic are a little bit different compared to his origins in the movie. Like, I'm not going to tell you what his origins are in the comic because I really don't want to spoil it, because it kind of, it's just, I will say this. It goes from, they make it a father-son thing in this one, versus in the comic it's an uncle and nephew thing. That's all I will say about that. It's an uncle and nephew thing in the comics and father-son in the movie, which I kind of think in the movie it works better because of that element, because you're like, why do they make it uncle and nephew? It makes no sense. Like, uncle, nephew. Like, he didn't have any parents, but I thought this worked better in the movie. And I think that's what I thought was great. I will say I really enjoyed the JSA in this movie. I thought I wasn't going to care for them in the movie, but I really enjoyed the movie. I really enjoyed this movie so much. Look, I'm just going to tell you right now. I bought this action figure of The Rock. Like, that's how much I loved this movie. I saw this, and I'm like, I got to buy it. It's $40, and, right here, The Rock, and I really like this movie. It's a McFarlane. I have a huge soft spot for McFarlane toys. I actually do own a Batman one of Robert Pattinson right over there. And, but I will say I had to buy that film. I had to buy that figure because I love this movie so much. And I will say this movie does have great action sequences. I don't care for the villain. Like, I'm going to tell you the positives I really liked were, I liked Dr. Fate. I thought Dr. Fate, Pierce Brosnan is my favorite Bond. I love him as James Bond. I didn't like the way they did him dirty in Casino Royale, but I really like him in this movie, and I was kind of rooting for him to get like this big franchise role, something. Like, I was hoping back in like 2012 when he had that movie, The November Man, I went and watched it just so I could hope he can get his new franchise, because he deserves it, because I'm like, I hated the way they treated the Bond producers did him. And so I'm like, he needs his own franchise. And of course, when seeing him as Dr. Fate in this movie, I was like, you know what? Good for him. I really like that he's in this movie as Dr. Fate. I really think there's some great things about this movie. and I really like Hawkman. I even like Cyclone, and Atom Smasher. Even though I feel like Cyclone and Atom Smasher get like our secondary characters in the story, and I really thought because he was the first one cast, Atom Smasher, after The Rock, obviously, and I thought, oh, he's going to be a big role. He's more of a secondary character compared to Hawkman and Atom Smasher and this other woman. And so, and the woman's from the comics, and there's a big arc in the comics that I'm not going to spoil because that is not in this movie, but they do it later. They're probably going to do it in Black Adam too. And I will say that I didn't care for the woman's son in the movie. A lot of people don't. I didn't care for him either. It just felt like that annoying kid you need in the movie to like warm the movie up some. And I was like, I did think that the villains, like the Intergang, I know they're from the comics, but I really just did not care much for the Intergang. I kind of wish they would have had a better villain. Like, that's my biggest issue with the 2016 Suicide Squad. I didn't hate the movie. I just did not like the fact that, like, I thought the origin steps and everything were great in that movie. I just felt like they didn't have a worthy enough villain to go against. And to where I was like, that's, to me, is the biggest issue. You can have a great heroes and great setup, but if you have a bad villain, that's going to make me hate this movie. And I feel like Black Adam had a better villain than the Suicide Squad movie. But I feel, and not the 2016 Suicide Squad. I liked the Suicide Squad directed by James Gunn. 2016 one I had issues with. This one, Black Adam movie, I will feel like the villain in that is better than the villain in the 2016 Suicide Squad movie. The villain of Black Adam, I do feel like it does pose more of a threat than that villain. But I will say, though, it didn't ruin my time. Like, the movie was still fun enough to where I could enjoy it. Because the villain does kind of focus on Black Adam being like almost like the villain, and then it kind of becomes that cliche in a movie where they have to, team up and shit. But, like, if you see the trailer, that pretty much is it's in the trailer. But, like, I will say I did enjoy the ride there. And I did enjoy the great cameos that are in this movie. And I enjoy having Amanda Waller in this movie. She's in the trailer, so I can say that. And I will say, I think she's going to be like the Nick Fury of the DC Studios movie. Which also, I just want to say, congratulations, James Gunn. Congratulations, man. I can't wait to see what you do with DC. I'm so excited to see what you do with DC. And I can't wait, man. But yeah, but I will say, I did like that aspect of, Black Adam having Amanda Waller, even though some people are like, she's like a villain, But I'm like, in a DC Studios movie, she's kind of like the Nick Fury, because they don't really have that. And I know in Justice League, they were trying to make, Batman be the Nick Fury. But in this one, they're kind of making, Amanda Waller, which I think that works more compared to being Batman, because Batman's Batman. And so, I really like that aspect of it. And I like, the JSA, even though they never explained. Like, I like the JSA, and I liked Black Adam and how he is like this, he's still kind of like a mix of an anti and a good. And he kind of is like, some parts you're rooting for him to kill people, and that's because I want him to kill these people, and then sometimes you're not rooting for him, and you're just like, man, don't do that. Like anytime he confronted the JSA, I was like, come on, man, don't do that. But when he's like killing the Intergang, I'm like, yeah, go ahead, kill them. Like I don't care, Like I feel like the movie really, the first 20 minutes I don't care for, but once Black Adam comes back, gets resurrected, comes back, then that's when I feel like the whole movie starts. It's like, wow, this is great. And I just, I like that aspect. Even if the JSA was in this movie, I feel like it was still great to see. And I really like The Rock as Black Adam. I did not like I do also like they paint it black in this movie. The way it works, that song with the Brother Rolling Stones works perfectly. I do like the fact, though, is, I do not like, though, that, it doesn't, like Black Adam, of course, there is like obviously they never explain how come the JSA are not, like, where would they go? They were not around when the Justice League established. They just, they've been doing this for a while now. And they're like, and so some people are confused, like, well, did Amanda Waller, they work for Amanda Waller? I think they're kind of subsidiary contracts. They pick up just contracts from her. Like, I don't really think, because I think the Justice League is busy, or they're disestablished, so I think the JSA is the ones picking up contracts from her, doing like the heroic stuff until the Justice League reestablishes or is established, and this new DC Studios going forward. And I really like that aspect of the JSA being there, but I also kind of had questions like, well, how do they know each other? Oh, apparently they've done this since the 70s, but yet we don't know about them, and just stuff like that, in which I don't know, just that kind of confused me. And also, I didn't like the first 20 minutes of the monster mashup. And also, you see something with the villain that I don't like about a crown, where he's supposed to wear it on his head, but he just has the crown. He's about to put it on his head, but he doesn't, and then he has the crown, so the crown, just remakes him, and that I can't really go into spoiler detail about that, but that kind of I had issues with. I'm like, well, it's not in his head, but it's here, but still it remakes him, and also there's a sequence where someone goes to hell, and I'm just like, it reminded me of the Spawn movie from the 90s, and I'm just like, this is a terrible thing to do. I would not have sent him to hell. I would not have done that. That looks so stupid. I'm like, to me, I'm just like laughing, going, this is stupid. This is so stupid. Like, I would not. I think that's the worst thing they did in this movie. I'm like, that's the stupidest thing ever. I did enjoy, the comedic aspect. Like, there was an uncle in this movie who kept making jokes and stuff like that. And like, he's like, don't, like, with, Dr. Fate makes it think about, like, you gotta stay away from electricity. He goes, but I'm an electrician. And I'm just like, stuff like that. Sorry, I know that's a spoiler, I'm sorry. And, but stuff like that. And there is like a cliche moment of monsters, and some people have said this is kind of like has moments of different superhero movies, and it feels like the cliche thing. But I feel like I didn't mind that, because superhero movies are like a cliche thing, but it's fun to enjoy. And I know some people are saying, well, superhero movies should be different, they should expand. But I'm like, it's fine, because everybody should not try to be like the next Dark Knight. It's fine to be Spider-Man. It's fine. You don't have to be like, the reason people love Guardians is it's like fun music, and they're not taking themselves too seriously. James Gunn, when he made Guardians of the Galaxy, he wasn't trying to make the next Dark Knight. He's trying to just have a fun movie. He's like, hey, I'm putting some fun songs in there. They're gonna go stop a bad guy. They're gonna be grunts that end up working together, and they're kind of like anti-heroes in a way, and they're and it's the fun movie. That's why in his Suicide Squad movie, bunch of bad people that bond, that come together, that have past, that have to stop a greater threat. That works because of, and that's why I think people are just trying to make, the reason I love Man of Steel, but I can see why people don't like that movie, because it feels like DC was trying to make the next, because ever since Dark Knight came out, every studio is trying to make the next Dark Knight, because that movie made $1 billion and it got Oscar nominations, and so they're like, oh, we have to make the next Dark Knight. And so with Superman's a completely different tone as Dark Knight. Superman is closer to Spider-Man, and they're trying to make it the next Dark Knight. And I'm like, that's Superman. That's a different tone. Even though I love Man of Steel, and I think I like their depiction of a real-world Superman. If Superman was real, this would be a real-world Superman in this movie. Like if Black Adam was real, this is what would happen in this movie. And besides the JSA shit, if you got rid of the JSA shit, just other part of it, that's what probably would happen. But I will say, I will say that is what I like about comic book movies, is they don't have to always be like the Dark Knight level threats. They don't always have to be realistic and serious like the Dark Knight. They can be fun comic movies. Spider-Man 2002. I love that movie so much. And, some people can pick it apart and say, well, there's some cheesy moments, and the Green Goblin is like just a traditional cliche villain. I'm like, I love that aspect of it. And I know people say Spider-Man 2 is the greatest comic movie ever made, and that's really where everybody likes us to see Spider-Man broke, almost on his near homeless, and, basically having to struggle and everybody around him suffer. I know people love that so much, but I kind of like the 2002 film more because of that, of seeing like a fun movie. And I think that's what I like about this movie. It's a fun movie. Is it going to win no awards? Is it going to win any awards? No, it's not going to win any awards. But it's a fun movie. I enjoyed it. There's explosions. And we're not supposed to sit there and critique a movie, everything. I know I'm critiquing this movie now, but, I know it's a little condescending. But, we're supposed to have fun with these movies. And I had fun with this movie. Look, I paid to see a blockbuster, and I got my money's worth. I know people were thinking, well, this is DC. This should be Marvel-level stuff. This should walk out and be Shakespearean. No, it's not. To me, look, and I'm going to be honest, I don't think they should have canceled the Batgirl movie, because Batgirl, look, even if it's a piece of shit, it deserves to be seen, because guess what? Someone's going to like that movie. I like Birds of Prey. So I know a lot of people don't like that movie. I like that movie. And you know what? I think some people, that's someone's favorite movie. I know one person that loves that movie that actually has a little Funko Pop from that movie. Not me, but I know someone, that has that Funko Pop. And I was like, you know what? Because guess what? I guarantee you, Batgirl comes out, and someone's like, you know what? I love Batgirl, you know? And it's great that we have representation and everything in these movies. Like Wonder Woman is played by an Israeli actress that's not white. I really like that aspect that we have an Israeli Wonder Woman. I like that we have a Samoan Aquaman. And I like now that we have a Samoan anti-hero. I would say superhero, but he's not a superhero. You know, and I like that aspects of it, and I like that, you know, and I think this is great. And I was like, you know, we should be able to see these characters thrive. And I can't wait to see the Green Lantern John Stewart series. I can't wait to see that. And I like, you know, I can't wait to see Superman again. I mean, but I'm just saying, these are stories that we can just appreciate, you know. I mean, they don't have to be the Dark Knight level. And I think that's one aspect of it. But I'm sorry, that was my rant about, you know, about that. But I will say, I really enjoyed this movie. I love the action. I think the humor is not as fun, you know, with the humor. Like, there are some funny moments, but then it's like, it's a mixed bag. Horror, there's not really much horror in this movie. Action is 100% what you should go for if you love action. And as for, like, you know, drama, there is some drama, and there is a moment where I was like, huh? Like, involves water in an underground layer, but, like, that word, you know, he has to say the magic word, you know, which I do like that they included Shazam moments in this movie. Like, you know, like if you're Shazam, I would recommend, if you haven't seen Shazam, like I would recommend watching Shazam before you go in this movie, because it kind of, you'll be like, oh, this is from this Shazam, and this is, oh, and he has to say the magic word Shazam to turn from Black Adam to like, but yeah, I really enjoyed this movie. If I had to give it a grade, I would give it a solid B+.
Behind you! Did he just catch a rocket?
He got a rocket.